All right, and meeting is being recorded.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Let's move forward with a productive, efficient meeting. I apologize in advance if my internet may not be cooperative after the storm we had here last night in Bozeman. Zoom meetings can be difficult anyway, so please be respectful of time and let's give everyone a chance to speak and use the hands up feature if we can. I'd like to call this meeting at 10 o'clock. Let's begin. Are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to introductions. I am Peggy Taylor. I'm usually in Whitefish, but I'm joining today from Bozeman. I am acting chair. I'm going to turn it over to Jenny, and I'm going to let her handle that as we have a new commissioner.
Thank you, everyone. Hello and welcome. My name is Jenny Stapp, and I'm the Montana State Librarian. And this morning, I want to say a special welcome to our newest commissioner, Brian Rossman. Brian is the librarian appointee of the Office of Commissioner of Higher Education, and he has just recently joined the commission. This is his first meeting. Brian is the Open Educational Resources and Scholarly Communications Librarian at Montana State University in Bozeman. And Brian, we're so glad to have you join us.
Thanks, Jenny. Thank you very much. I'm very honored and pleased to be part of the commission.
Welcome. Jenny, do you want to just let them know who other commissioners are?
Sure, happily. We're also joined by Robin Scribner from Geraldine. Robin is an appointee of Governor Gianforte. Tammy Hall, or Tamara Hall of Bozeman, is also a governor appointee. Tom Burnett of Bozeman is a governor appointee. And Carmen Cuthbertson of Kalispell is our most recent governor appointee. And then Elsie Arnson, the superintendent of public instruction, is a member of the commission. I'm not sure if she's on yet. She said she'd be joining us shortly.
I think I misspoke. I don't see Tamara on Zoom, so she might not be in yet. Sorry, people were pouring in. I thought I saw her name, but now I don't. Just as a heads up.
Yes, have dropped off.
Okay, sorry.
I don't see her on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Sorry to interrupt.
All right. Let's begin on to our topic. Is there a motion pertaining to this business item?
Madam Chair, I have a motion.
Yes, Tom.
I'll read it.
Please.
I move that we immediately withdraw from the American Library Association and discontinue any further payments, except for existing contracts, to it or its subsidiaries. The body of a letter to the ALA is as follows. Dear Executive Board and officers, the purpose of this letter is to announce the Montana State Library's immediate separation from the American Library Association. Our oath of office and resulting duty to the Constitution forbids association with an organization led by a Marxist. Sincerely, Montana State Library Commission.
Is there a second?
I second that.
It has been moved and seconded. Genevieve, do you have the motion so I can repeat it?
I don't. I got the first half of it. So I have
Would you repeat?
we immediately
that
withdraw.
motion?
Yeah, I'll go slow.
Hang on, let me do this really quick. I'm going to screen share so that you can make sure that I am doing it correctly. Can you all see my word screen?
Yes.
Okay, so let me make it bigger so you guys can see. I'm sorry, give me one moment. I just want to do this clearly. Okay, anything, go ahead.
I move that we immediately withdraw
Okay,
from
Not
the
from me.
American Library Association
Okay.
and discontinue any further payments except for existing
on.
contracts
Continue. Sorry. Any further payments? And
except for existing contracts
got it.
to it or its subsidiaries. Period. The body of a letter
One sec, except for existing contracts to its subsidiaries.
to it or its subsidiaries.
Okay, so that is your main motion. Do you want to just include that we would send a letter? Or do you want the body in the motion?
I do want the body of the letter in the motion so that the commission doesn't spend time trying to draft a letter to accomplish the purpose.
Okay.
So the second sentence is the body of a letter to the ALA is as follows.
Hang on.
Dear Executive Board and officers.
Okay.
The purpose of this letter is to announce the Montana State Library's immediate separation from the American Library Association. Our oath of office and resulting duty to the Constitution forbids association
Hang on 1 second. Sorry. Resulting. What came after duty?
to the Constitution.
Duty to the.
Forbids association with an organization
Okay.
led by a Marxist. Sincerely, Montana State Library Commission.
Put on one page.
You want to change withdrawal to withdraw?
Thank you.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that we immediately withdraw from the ALA and discontinue any further payments except for existing contracts to it or its subsidiaries. The body of the letter to the ALA is as follows. Dear Executive Board and officers, the purpose of this letter is to announce the MSL immediate separation from the ALA. Our oath of office and resulting duty to the Constitution forbids association with an organization led by a Marxist. Sincerely, MSL Commission. Is there any discussion?
So just a point of clarification, since I'm very new, do we swear an oath of office on the commission?
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so you'll be receiving this, Brian, and it's, let me read it to you. The state of Montana, county of Gallatin in this case. This is my oath of office. I, Thomas Burnett, do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Montana, and that I will discharge the duties of my office as a member of the Library Commission with fidelity, so help me God. Second paragraph. In addition, in accordance with Montana Code citation, I certify that my signature below is my true and correct manual signature. And then it has a place for a date and a signature and the officer administering the oath.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I appreciate that. I wasn't aware of that yet, so thank you. Um, could you perhaps explain a little bit further what you mean by the Constitution forbidding association with an organization led by a Marxist? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
Yes, very briefly, Marxism stands in direct opposition to the principles of the Constitution of the United States. It's fair to discuss and learn about Marxism, but not to affiliate with Marxist-led organizations.
Any other discussion from commissioners?
So I think I would just observe that the president of the American Library Association is largely a ceremonial role. The officer does not really have any authority to dictate policy, even though she claimed in her on her platform, I guess, when she was running for office, that she would direct the organization to do so. She doesn't have that authority. She's only in place for a year. ALA itself is certainly not a Marxist organization. And there has been quite a bit of testimony from the state library that there's a great deal of benefit that comes from belonging to the American Library Association. I think that it would be unfortunate if the state library were to withdraw from ALA and therefore would no longer be part of the conversation nationally within our profession. I think there's a lot of benefit that comes from belonging to LA with regards to professional development. And as I said, participating in the conversation, having a voice. I think that it would be, this seems like a rather drastic response to one individual's politics. And I think a better approach might be to send a letter to ALA expressing the commission's disapproval with the president's politics, but to withdraw from ALA seems to me to be a very drastic response.
I have a question for the staff, I believe. How would it affect the libraries that we serve if we would withdraw membership?
Thank you for the question, Peggy. As is noted in much of your public comments and in your meeting materials, we do get access to resources through the American Library Association, support for funding that helps support the offset of costs of broadband, professional development resources, etc. And while we would not lose access to those resources, should the state library withdraw our membership, the funding, the $1,000 membership cost that we pay does help to fund those costs. I think a greater concern might be the loss of influence that we would have with the American Library Association to address some of the concerns and differences of opinion that exist between the state library and Montana libraries and the American Library Association.
Go ahead, Carmen.
From the materials I have seen, we didn't spend $1,000, but $15,000 per year that went to the ALA. So I don't think the cost is $1,000 a year. I think it's more. It's $15,000 as far as I know.
Where did you see that?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Tom.
that was from the state checkbook just in the fiscal year 2021. So that's not consistently year to year. The actual dues are 1,000 plus other subscription expenses and materials. But that was, the 14,000 was from 2021. That was an outlier year.
Yes, Carmen.
So what is the cost in an average year? Do we have that? Or any kind of idea what it is on average?
I would have to go and look at this $14,000 expenditure that you're referencing because I'm not familiar with it. The only known expenditure with the American Library Association is our annual membership. But I'm happy to go and take a look at the additional charge that you're referring to.
Our membership invoice is included in your meeting materials and it's $1,000.
Any other comments by commissioners? We're saving public comment till the end here.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Tom, do you, looking at that checkbook, can you tell me what those expenses were for, the additional 14,000? Can you tell from the checkbook what that was for?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
there were about 4 or 5 entries in that fiscal year, and they weren't very well detailed, but that was definitely an outlier year.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Elsie.
thank you. As Montana State Superintendent, I look at literacy very seriously. I look at how organizations also impact education across our nation, but also in our state, in our very rural schools, in our rural communities. So in dealing then with the State Library Commission, yes, it is about that dollar impact. I want to be careful about the discussion with professional development. I believe our new commissioner, speaks about how important that professional development is. And I believe that. But I also believe in this statement that is here. I believe that if we withdraw, we rebuild. And we recognize the importance of where professional development, either from a national level or from a state level, can be for our librarians across our state to promote literacy, to enhance literacy. So I'm in favor of this motion. I believe we can rebuild. I believe that we can reauthorize later, if indeed, after a year's time, the American Library Association has a different leader or a different path. But I am in favor of this motion at this time. Literacy in our state is so important of all ages of Montanans.
Any other discussion? Carmen?
I'm in favor of this motion because I agree that this is a 1-year re-upping every time. So we have a choice to see where the ALA goes in the future, and we can always join them again. I researched a little bit how the election worked to be president of the ALA, and the current president worked very hard to become president. And I definitely see an agenda and a purpose when somebody works that hard to become president of an organization. And I would have liked to see somebody say, I am honored to be president and take this venerable organization forward. And that thought was not expressed by the current president, which is kind of sad. So I support this motion, and I think that we can always check back in with the ALA in the future. It's not like we're losing the opportunity to join a great professional organization in the future. We can always do that.
I call the question.
All right. Since we are done with discussion by the commissioners, are there any public comment? But I'd like to say We're going to limit you to 3 minutes. Please raise your hand and Genevieve will recognize you and keep track of the time. We'll start with public comment.
Okay, first one is Anna Shemalinen.
Yeah, hello?
Okay,
Yes.
Anna, I'll start recording the time now. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Anna Shemilinin, and I'm an immigrant from the USSR. I grew up in a country that in real life practice implemented the theory of Marxism. 6 out of 7 of my grandmother's siblings, her parents, her husband, her oldest daughter were murdered by Marxists. My husband's great-grand uncle served 12 years in Gulag. My great-great uncles also served in Gulag and he didn't survive it. In her comment, Susan Gregory wrote that Americans don't leave the US because they don't like or agree with the sitting president of the US. Yes, they don't leave the country, but many Americans who respect their moral principles leave the party when they think the party betrayed their principle. I'm absolutely sure that you wouldn't have any discussion about whether to stay in LA if the elected president would openly promote slavery or declare herself a national socialist. Marxist socialist is supporting of red terror, Gulag, Golodomor, Stalinist ethnic cleansing, Red Brigades, Great Famine of China, re-education camps, genocide in Cambodia, prison camp in North Korea, prison labor in Cuba, forced child labor and sex slavery in Venezuela. I think that there is no need for more arguments supporting the decision to leave the organization that elected a Marxist socialist as president. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna lower your hand down. Next one is Star Bradley.
Hi, thank you for your time. My name is Star Bradley. I'm a professional librarian here in Montana, and I just want to express my support for remaining member of ALA. And I have some questions for the commission. One of the commissioners stated that it is states specifically in the Constitution that it's unconstitutional to belong to an organization led by a Marxist. And I'd like to know where exactly in the Constitution that is stated. And also another commissioner mentioned that the president of ALA campaigned very hard to become a president. And that means that they have an agenda and that we shouldn't support somebody who campaigns that hard. And I think that's a very bad precedent to set. So are we saying as libraries in Montana that if you feel very strongly about something and you campaign hard for something, that's a bad thing? That doesn't seem like a good thing to me. ALA as an organization supports libraries and supports libraries in every state in many ways, not just funding, but also supporting librarians, libraries, professional development, giving libraries a greater voice nationally than they would if they didn't belong to ALA. So I think withdrawing is a very extreme idea just because we disagree with what one person in the organization thinks, especially since this person has retracted what they said at this point. So I just want to go on record as giving my support for not withdrawing from ALA. Thank you.
Okay, and next one is Jennifer Pippin.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for allowing the public to speak on this issue. So I definitely support in getting removed from the ALA, and I think this needs to be done nationally, not just there. I really commend you guys on looking into this and taking public comment and looking into this. So the ALA, we could see across the country, has been infiltrating the schools. They have been providing sexually explicit content and pornography and putting a a American Library Association stamp of approval on, you know, children's literature across the country. And we're just now finding these, you know, these books in schools because we always trusted the librarians. We always trusted the ALA to do best by children. And unfortunately, at this time, we're finding, again, across the country, not just with you guys, that this is not good. And anybody who would support, you know, the Marxist president, even if she did withdraw it, those are her views. Those are the views that she's going to try to push into her organization and the people that work under her. So again, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for the consideration in removing from the ALA. Let's put the power back within the communities, within parents. I'm sure if you get many community members and people who would love to help, you know, look at books or help with professional development, look at educators and, you know, the trainings that they're going through, and not going through the ALA as a Marxist organization led by a Marxist person. Again, even though they retract it, that's where their, you know, values and views stand. So again, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And definitely let's break away from the ALA and build back better, and, you know, make a better you know, organization or, you know, foundation for, you know, getting a different organization in here. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is Matt Beckstrom.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. To the members of the Montana Library Commission, my name is Matt Beckstrom, and I'm the elected Montana chapter representative to the American Library Association by the Montana Library Association. A member of the Montana Library Association Board and a librarian for over 20 years in Montana. For over 60 years, the Montana State Library has been a net member of the Library Association, American Library Association. All libraries in the state benefit from this partnership, including public, academic, school, special libraries. The ALA provides access to resources, grants, federal assistance, national advocacy for funding and in support. The ALA also provides the most significant policy lobbying office in Washington, D.C. During the pandemic, the ALA provided support and assistance to many libraries around the nation. As libraries and librarians, we need this partnership to continue through the state library. The current ALA president, Emily, has made a comment on Twitter that some commission members objected to. This comment has led to the discussion of the withdrawing from the state library from its membership. The statement she made by Emily was not unconstitutional to the United States Constitution. It was not against the Montana State Constitution, nor does it go against any rules or statutes of the state of Montana. Her comment was made on a personal social media site and does not reflect the beliefs, the values, or the direction of the entire ALA or its members. The ALA is a nonpartisan, nonprofit, member-driven association. The ALA president is a one-year volunteer position that is a spokesperson for the association. This role cannot change the association without ALA staff, the executive board, the ALA council, and the entire membership approving changes. If you truly want to make a change in your association, stay in and speak up. Don't walk away. Almost every state agency as a member of a national organization provides support and resources to them. It connects them with people and agencies around the nation. Pulling the Montana State Library away from the ALA will leave the state library, and potentially every library in the state, unprotected and without any support. Every professional organization relies on a network of connected individuals, access to resources and support and assistance from other organizations to help them stay current, active, and useful. And this is especially true for libraries. I realize your decision only affects the Montana State Library, but the state library has many needs, from funds, support, assistance, and access to resources provided by the ALA. Disassociating the state library from the ALA tells the other libraries in the state that the state library does not trust or believe in the association. Your decision to separate also says you do not trust the amazing staff of the state library to make their own informed decisions and evaluate resources from ALA based on their own education, knowledge, and experience. Taking away the ecosystem of professional libraries and librarians from the state library is telling them that their hard work does not matter anymore.
25 more seconds. Go ahead.
Last time the ALA faced this was when states were separating the affiliation of ALA was during the 1960s, when some southern states objected to desegregation of libraries and state chapters. And now you are asking the Montana State Library, and through it, all public school and academic libraries, to do the same. I'm asking as a librarian and as a citizen of Montana for you to not start isolating our state library and potentially all of our libraries from the ALA. The $1,000 we pay is more
Time is up.
time.
Thank
you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, my thing's going. Okay. So next is Ann Kish.
Good morning, commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for this time to speak with you. I'm coming to you today My name is Ann Kish, and I'm bringing public comment as in my role as the Montana chapter president of the Montana ACRL. The ACRL is the Association of College and Research Libraries, which is the division of the American Library Association that supports and furthers the work of the academic libraries in Montana. ALA makes it possible for Montana's academic libraries to share our research regarding best practices in all library types. The Montana ACRL urges the Commission to maintain membership in the American Library Association. The ACRL encourages the Commission to learn more about the scope of the work that's supported by ALA, which is our shared professional association, and to learn more about how every facet and branch of ALA intertwines to impact and contribute to the profession in its entirety. The ACRL, all branches of ALA, and most importantly, Montana library users will benefit the most by a commission that refuses to relinquish that valuable seat at the table that comes with membership. Montana's voice is important to ALA's many conversations and is the only mechanism by which the commission and the state library are able to affect change in ALA. The mission of ALA is to provide leadership for the development, promotion, and improvement of library and information services and the profession of librarianship in order to enhance learning and ensure access to information for all. ALA has 50,000 members, so there are going to be many ideas about how to best achieve that mission, and we aren't always going to agree. I don't know a librarian who agrees all of the time with ALA. What we will always have as members is a professional association that supports us in our work and that gives us a voice at the table. Montana ACRL urges the Commission—
30 more seconds.
Montana ACRL urges the Commission to claim your voice at the table and hold ALA accountable for achieving its mission. The Commission will be unable to affect change by removing itself from our important national conversations. Thank you.
Okay. Next is David Ingram.
Morning, my name is David Ingram. I'm a trustee at Imaginative Libraries. I wholeheartedly support the move to separate from the ALA. Instead of pursuing the long-term viability of future libraries and supporting the traditional role of acquisition, preservation, and circulation, ALA desires to inject the library into the vanguard of the culture wars. The ALA is a taxpayer-funded organization involved in creating the curriculum for future librarians. I fear that many of those dominant in the library decision-making process desire to participate in reshaping our society with a Marxist bent. It receives over $210 million in public funds, yet uses these funds to undermine truth and natural law, the very foundations of Western civilization. Current examples of the organizational mindset include the induction of a self-proclaimed Marxist as president who supports sexually exposing children, union-led political strife, socialist politicians, and pushes explicit and far-left material. She has been said to believe that collective power is possible to build and can be wielded for the better world. I fear her definition of better. The new president has multiple videos focused on teaching librarians how to subvert and inject hard left politics and sexuality into their publicly funded work, with titles such as Teaching the Radical Catalog and her top-cited work, Queering the Catalog. Another quote, "We can also help build a way of shaping students as agents of change, both inside the library and out." Another ALA director was quoted as saying, "Library workers are on the front line of some of our most pressing social justice issues, and they are no longer relegated to the reference desk." They consider libraries a social project and librarians as activists. In 18, they distributed buttons emblazoned with "Radical Militant Librarian." In 21, they issued a resolution to condemn white supremacy and fascism as antithetical to library work. These are lofty aspirations indeed. However, the devil is in the details. I am unsure what definitions those words have today. The technique of redefining words to fit the current narratives so that they can censor items they dislike, all the while claiming they are just protecting the public from the most dangerous and extreme literature. They have no interest in providing a balanced collection with a wide range of perspectives. To me, it's patently obvious.
30
They
more
are
seconds.
Thank you. They foster an attitude of discouraging offerings not consistent with their progressive agenda. The ALA uses the public library as a front to introduce Marxist propaganda and child sexualizing material while excluding alternative perspectives which they deem as violent and extreme, so as to protect the public from misinformation. But it's not censorship. I say drop them. Thank you.
Next one is S. Gregory.
Hi, I'm Susan Gregory. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Commissioners, thank you very much for the chance to visit. I'm Susan Gregory. I'm the Bozeman Public Library Director, and I do want to comment on the situation. I want to be very honest and tell you I think this is a really sad time for all of us. I've been involved with ALA for more than 40 years. It's been an association that has brought all kinds of training on literacy, both for adults and children, all kinds of training on staff management, many, many things related to libraries, things that I have benefited from over my career and that my staff benefits from. I want to speak to the conferences that happen once a year. 15 to 20,000 people from around the world come together in a major city, and hundreds of programs are put on. I have yet, in all the years I've been going to conferences, to see any kind of program on Marxism, communism, or why it's important to take one political stance or another. What's unfortunate about this current president's statement, and I find it to be a very unfortunate statement, is putting your personal politics into a situation where it's inappropriate. My personal politics would never be of any interest if I were running for ALA president. It should be more a conversation about what am I going to do in this brief year as president to better the libraries in the United States and to better serve the librarians and communities in the US, not to tell them whether I'm a Democrat or Republican or what. So I do find this very sad and frustrating. I want to remember and help you all know that the experience of the Montana librarians speaking this morning is based on years and years and years of productive work with an association which is not extreme, which does have a reasonable and moderate core, serving on the ALA Council for more than 4 sessions. The ALA president is a figurehead. Unfortunately, she made that statement about being a Marxist, but frankly, she doesn't really run the organization. The executive director does, and the more than 100 ALA counselors from states all around the United States, all 50 states, have fierce discussions, healthy discussions, and we make those decisions. So I wanted to clear up that misunderstanding. Hopefully we can move forward. And the last thing I want to say is
30 more seconds.
I really hope that we'll remain only because we do need to have a voice in this conversation. I'm very concerned if Montana pulls out that we will be ignored and we will have no means to change anything. Thank you.
Next is Derek.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. I'm Derek A. Stryker, former Chief Deputy Attorney General for the state of Montana, current Chief Legal Counsel for the Montana Family Foundation. Today, the Montana Family Foundation rises in support of the commission's withdrawal from the American Library Association. Without repeating some of the comments that have gone before me, I'll try and keep my testimony brief. On April 13th of last year, ALA elected Emily Drabinski as the new president of the organization, and she's a self-described Marxist lesbian. Ms. Drabinski shared her vision for the ALA in a press release that same day, and I don't think anyone's quoted from that press release, but she said, quote, "Consequences of decades of unchecked climate change, class war, white supremacy, and imperialism have led us here. We have a lot of work ahead to build collective power for the public good." End quote. Ms. Drabinski's vision for the ALA is entirely inconsistent with Montana values, and we're glad that the commission is moving to withdraw from this organization. Her vision is already taking root at the ALA. A quick look at the ALA's website shows how the priorities of the organization have shifted. You might think that the focus of the ALA would be to promote literacy and foster education and ensure access to information. But one of the primary focuses of the ALA is now listed as diversity. In fact, it's such a priority at the ALA that it's created an Office for Diversity, Literacy, and Outreach Services, which, again, I'll quote from the website, quote, uses social justice framework to ensure the inclusion of diverse perspectives within our profession and association, end quote. The ALA has also announced, I'll quote from the website again, that one of its goals is to prevent, quote, inequities, microaggressions, power and privilege, white privilege, gender privilege, able-bodied privilege, etc., from impacting library spaces every day, end quote. This is synonymous with the type of critical theory that has been determined illegal by a recent Attorney General opinion from Montana's Attorney General Austin Knudsen. So while the office of the president of the ALA may have been historically ceremonial, it is clear that the political ideology and the vision that Mr. Brinsky has brought is being carried out by the organization as a whole. So on behalf of the Montana Family Foundation, we support this motion and we encourage the Montana Library Commission to withdraw from the ALA. Thank you.
Okay. Next is Diane.
Good morning and thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Thank you. I do support withdrawing from the ALA. I don't believe you compromise with depravity. It should never be acceptable to expose children to sexually explicit material. And whatever perceived benefits there are coming at too high of a cost. I'm losing, or maybe more accurately have lost faith and respect in the education system, as it seems to be more bent on Marxist indoctrination rather than education. These institutions are being infiltrated by people and entities to push deranged, depraved ideologies, and they're becoming radicalized and weaponized against us and our children. So I strongly support withdrawing from the ALA. Thank you.
Cheryl Peskin.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Commission. I really appreciate you guys opening up this venue and discussing this. This is a very bold move in which I am in complete support of. Just like the Montana School Board Association voted to withdraw from the National Education Association or the National School Board Association for calling parents who go to school board meetings domestic terrorists. I think this is a really good move to send a really clear signal to our national organizations that we are not in agreement with the direction that they are taking these organizations. A little bit about myself. I am here in Bozeman, Montana. I have been working for several years with different parents, trying to help them to use their voices and go through the proper channels with the public schools and the as well as the public library to remove inappropriate books that are not age appropriate, that are definitely pushing sexual content and stuff that just young minors should not be exposed to. What we find over and over is a passing the buck, a kicking the can down the road. And the teachers say, well, this was approved by that person and this association. And really what it comes back down to, all of the roads seem to be coming back to the American Library Association and the list of books that they recommend for these age groups of 0 to 5 years old, 5 to 9 years old, whatever, and then your young adult sections. So I think this is a very appropriate move. I've been very impressed with some of the other comments already given. And so with that, I will leave you to the rest of your meeting. Thank you.
Dr. Joe Malone.
Yes, thank you for having me. I have a PhD in health and human performance with a specialization in sexual wellness. So I work with young people often in trying to prevent the damage that early sexualization impacts them with. So, and again, we might keep in mind that the most vulnerable time of life for the human brain to be affected by these types of things is the adolescent years. It's the most plastic that it's in the lifetime. So we're talking about a real vulnerable time in their lives to having some of these sexualized materials put in front of them and put in their school libraries, as well as, of course, a lot of other places. I'd like to add to what Mr. Ingram was saying earlier, as far as the history of the ALA with this kind of issue, by adding a few more details. The ALA had a history in the early 2000s of being challenged about 350 times a year over materials like Harry Potter's, the Harry Potter books and that type of thing. But starting in 2016 and 2017, they started training their activist librarians to collude with activist authors, publishers, and book vendors to begin pushing sexually explicit books for all ages. And that continued on, and particularly between the years 2020 and 2021, there was a sharp increase from 600 in 2020 to over 1,600 in 2021. So there's been a track record here, particularly from 2016 forward, and especially again starting in 2021, of really increasing the numbers of objectionable materials in the library. So again, coming at this situation from the perspective of a professional, health professional, I can't think of one positive effect that having these types of sexualized materials could have on young people in this very vulnerable time in their lives by having them available and being pushed by people within the schools. So again, as a professional, I would recommend against that. And
30
again,
seconds.
thank you. And it's really important, I think, that we keep our materials that are in front of young people age appropriate. Thank you very much.
Jesse Browning.
Good morning. My name is Jessie Browning from Billings, Montana. I'm a mom and member of Moms for Liberty, Yellowstone County. I have brought my kids to our public library since they were babies. However, in recent years, there's been a very noticeable shift in the direction of children's books purchased and children's programming options, which has caused me some pause in frequenting the library. From baby board books promoting drag queens and gender ideology mixed into bins in our toddler area, to colorful picture books depicting such things as a pride parade with hairy men dressed as women tucked in your books like if you give a mouse a cookie, to pride-centered projects in our teen tech lab, the library has already been a place to promote gender ideology and confusion among our children. Many moms I've spoken with have simply stopped bringing their kids to the library due to this, or they will pick out books online only to be picked up at designated sites. They feel their parental rights to keep their children safe from ideologies that seek harm upon kids in the family unit has been invaded upon by the public library. Marxism always promotes division among groups. Division is always the point. Those who proclaim to be Marxist, such as the current ALA president, understand they need to get to the kids and indoctrinate them into ideologies that seek to break the natural God-given bond between a child and a parent. They seek to create confusion, and what better way to create confusion than promote gender ideology and other sexualized material upon vulnerable, impressionable children whose brains are not fully developed till their mid-20s. The best way to divide kids from their parents is to confuse them, and sex is the perfect tool. Drabinski has YouTube videos that are teaching other librarians how to inject hard left politics and sexuality into their publicly funded work. And on her Twitter feed, she openly supports exposing kids to sexual topics. When adults are arguing that kids have a right to pornographic material, they're coming from an ideology that assumes kids are sexual from birth. This idea stems from Alfred Kinsey, who sexually abused kids as young as a few months old in the name of performing his fraudulent research. Please sever ties from the ALA. Stop funding a group that they chose the leader. She openly promotes Marxism with our taxpayer dollars. They knew full well who they were hiring when they chose her. Her teachings comments are all over the internet. The cost and the damage done to our children here in Montana far outweighs any possible benefit. Thank you so much.
One moment, sorry. Robin Steinman.
Hi, thank you for having me, and thank you for giving us a chance to speak. I have heard people attest that the personal beliefs of the president of the ALA do not reflect on the actual ideology or operation of the ALA. All evidence is to the contrary. The ALA curates and promotes an annual rainbow reading list in which it pushes sexualized LGBTQ plus books into school libraries for kindergarten through 12th grade. Per the ALA, the number of obscene books jumped from 600 in 2020 to 1,600 in 2021. The doubling of inappropriate content before children is clearly agenda-driven. The ALA is a large proponent of the 2022 Right to Read Act, in which it seeks to take obscene, age-inappropriate, sexualized, radical books, pornography in many cases, and redefine it as, quote, culturally diverse. The ALA makes itself look larger than it is through the Right to Read Foundation and Libraries Transforming Communities, partnered with LGBTQ organizations such as GLSEN, who recently made headlines with their partnership with Target to push trans material to children. The ALA, quote, Office of Intellectual Freedom is even on the record with a Zoom call by Deborah Caldwell Stone, giving advice to librarians on how to skirt parent complaints and concerns over these inappropriate books and to get in front of legislation it does not like. When parents in our county read these books during our school board meeting public comment, they were muted for fears of FCC penalties for obscene language. A YouTube video in which a grandmother read excerpts from these books was recently deleted by YouTube for violating its sex and nudity policy. The notification went on to say pornographic or sexually explicit content that is meant to be gratifying is not allowed on YouTube. And yet the ALA pushes it before our youngest. The fact that the ALA is led by a Marxist is absolutely important because the ALA is using tenets of Marxism in the sexualization and radicalization of children, thus breaking down America's families. Thank you for your time.
One second. Next is Dana Gonzalez.
Yes, hi. Thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it so much. I just wanted to say that I trust that the Montana State Library Commission will make the right choice to withdraw from the American Library Association. And I'm just going to simply put it this way. We ought not promote, celebrate, or support what Scripture condemns. And for time's sake, I just wanted to say a couple of scriptures that condemns what Emily has stated. Leviticus 20:13, if a man lies with a male as with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. Deuteronomy 22:5, a woman shall not wear a man's garment, nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak, for whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord our God. Proverbs 17:15, he who justifies the wicked and who condemns the righteous are both alike an abomination to the Lord. So I hope you consider this, especially Proverbs 17:15, when you make your own personal decision on this. So why should we protect our children? Matthew 18:6 says, but whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and be drowned in the depth of the sea. Please do not be deceived. We are to care for our children and promote good books. There are so many out there, and we need to do such that for our children, for our future. We know that the enemy is on he is moving quickly. He knows his time is ending quick too. So please protect our children. And from what I'm hearing from other comments is that you're very dependent on the ALA, which I think you should be more dependent on the smart individuals that you've surrounded yourself with. Don't be reliant on government-led things. The government is not for us. It's truly against us. And the
30
leadership
seconds.
that is being put in place is evil. So please don't be deceived. I'll be praying for you. Thank you so much.
Star Emery, I think maybe your hand is still up from your previous comment. Is that correct?
I haven't made a comment. That was
Oh,
Star
I'm
Bradley.
sorry. Got it. Okay, thank you. Go. I'll start your clock. Go ahead.
Okay, so my name's Star Emery. I'm here in the Billings community, and I just wanted to touch on a couple things. I am a foster parent and a parent. I work extensively with special needs kids and also kids with trauma in our community. And I think it's essential that we understand that the ALA's leadership is an appointed position, which means that it is representative of what the position, the corporation believes in and supports. That would be a Marxist individual. That is concerning. When we're looking at Montana being a leader, that means that we need to stop allowing organizations to dictate how we educate our children. Proficiency in Montana has been grossly lacking for quite some time, and actually dropping. Agendas have become the focus as opposed to education. And it's concerning to me that this is also happening in the libraries. My students do not go to the library anymore because of this problem. They cannot walk in and pick out a book in the kids section without being assured that there will not be sexual content in that material. If we continue to associate with an organization with Marxist ties, that leader will absolutely have influence into the individuals in the organization, into the libraries that are participating in that process, and into the lives of our children. If we want to stand as a leader, then we need to do so by separating from the ALA. I am 100% in support of this and have spoke to numerous parents in the community that are also in support of this. And I think it's important that we listen to those parents. The one thing that I do want to mention too, that I think is really important, is that Montana needs to take care of Montana. We do not need to be focused on what the nation is doing until we have learned to take care of ourselves. So we can educate our librarians and continue to provide professional growth and do the research and stand firm in what our core values and beliefs are. We can lead and rise up and focus on educating our children, increasing the literacy of our community, and then we can actually utilize that as a voice amongst other people. Thank you.
Next comment is from Bill. Bill, you're muted. If you are speaking, we can't hear you.
How's that? Sorry.
Now we may hear you. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I just pulled up their website. And it says National Library Week kicks off with a highly anticipated annual list of the top 10 most challenged books in the state. And it says, and here's a list of the books: Queer Gender, All Boys Aren't Blue, The Bluest Eye, Flamer, Looking for Alaska, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. And these are all books that promote children exploring some sexual identity other than a male or a female. And they also, some of them have some very explicit pornography content in them. So to say that the ALA doesn't push this stuff, this is on their website. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Peggy, that's the last of the hands raised on Zoom.
Okay. And there have been several chats. I hope you've been following along, commissioners, with the chats that have been coming through. There was one question directed at you, Tom, about the Constitution. Would you like to answer that?
Madam Chair, I think I've already covered that. Thank you.
Okay. Jenny, would you like to give us some final thoughts?
Madam Chair.
Oh, there's Tammy.
Yeah, I was on, but I couldn't see or hear. I was had technical difficulty. So, but thank you for the good meeting you're running. I just want to share that I think the purpose of the library is twofold: to help the librarians do their job and to help the public in their needs. And I agree with all the people who have said, I have read through all the materials on the ALA, and I see absolutely no reaching out to parents, to families, to their needs, to what people, it seems to be an advocacy group for what they politically and personally and professionally want. And I think that's fine if you're an independently owned library, but once you take taxpayer money, once you're funded with government money, you become responsible to the public. And I really feel like in Montana, our libraries need to be responsive to their patrons, the people in the library. That includes parents. We're all responsible to help protect our children. And so, and I agree with everything Tom has said and what he's done and all the comments that have been made. And I'm really grateful this topic has come up. We are Montana. We need to serve our children like Montanans, protect our children like Montanans.
Thank you.
Robin has her hand up. Peggy?
Yep, go ahead, Robin.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for all the public comment. It has helped perhaps not just make our decision, but it has helped answer questions. I do believe that the ALA does do a lot of lobbying for libraries to attain additional funding, and they also lobby for library rights. They do good work, and the president for 1 year shouldn't make that much of a difference. But historically, this organization has moved to focusing on ideologies and taking stands on those over and above other ideologies to the point where it has devalued any ideology that is different from what their ideology is. And it's put that ideology, if I can repeat that word again, over and above the rest of their patrons. I also am in favor of withdrawing from ALA.
Peggy, there's one last public comment that I might have missed.
I see that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Alba?
Good morning, board. My name is Alba Pimentel. I am the chapter chair of Moms for Liberty, Yellowstone County. I'm a parent, and yesterday we attempted to have a discussion at our local library concerning the gender ideology agendas being pushed on children. We were bullied by the LGBTQ community for wanting to have a discussion. The ALA Marxist president constantly promotes the same ideologies and concerns we brought up yesterday. It was 3 of us moms, and we were told not to bring anyone and to be peaceful. That is exactly what we did. We sat in a room with over 100 LGBTQ members, bullying us, having us say as parents, as we were directly attacked, mocked. We listened to over an hour of opposition while media was present. As you can see clearly now, we're going through the same situation we were yesterday. It was not a tolerant discussion. It was one-sided. That is not what the library is about or for. The library is for our children, all children, even those with moral or religious beliefs. The American Library Association is destroying our libraries with their ideologies and creating division with their Marxist agenda. Please keep our children protected in Montana and withdraw from the ALA and follow our duty to the Constitution. Put the power back to the parents and the taxpayers. Thank you all for your service. Thank you.
Jenny?
Thank you, Peggy. First, I just wanted to clarify the question about the one-time funding that Carmen referenced in the state checkbook. Carmen, that funding went to pay for trainings offered through United for Libraries, which is a subsidiary of the ALA specifically for trustees. So it pays for training for library trustees, and it was a one-time payment. The other point that I just want to be able to make is that I have said over the years that I too have frustrations with the American Library Association, and I'm certainly not here to defend the American Library Association. But as is reflected in the conversations that we've had today and in the comments that we've received, there are points of view on both sides, and much of what's been expressed here is well reflected in the record, and some of the points of views are not accurate. And I'm not going to debate those here. The point I want to make is that the role of the Montana libraries, the Montana State Library, when we help libraries that are facing these kinds of tensions in their communities, is to bring people together to the table to have those kinds of conversations, to listen to one another with open minds, and to try to find solutions that best reflect our entire communities. And my concern with this action is that it does not model our own practices as a state library in trying to bring people together. We visited at length with staff about their points of views, and none of us feel like this is the kind of issue that we want to object to and see as growing the gulf between the staff and the State Library Commission. But I do want to emphasize that this action of leaving the American Library Association does not reflect our practices of trying to bring people together.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Tammy.
I'm sorry, Jenny, I'm not clear on what you just said. What I'm hearing, and I'm not sure it's right, is that you're not going to object to this as a staff, but I didn't understand what it was you were saying. You do agree with they're not trying to bring people together, or could you help me understand better what you just said?
Sure. It's the practice of the state library when we are working with libraries facing these very kinds of conversations in the community to encourage community members to come together to have these kinds of conversations and to try to find resolution together. And I feel like leaving the American Library Association does not give us the voice to try to find resolution, and doesn't mirror the practices that we advise to libraries.
So are you saying that if you stayed in the ALA, you think maybe you could change them?
I wish I could. I've been trying to express my concerns for quite some time, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't keep trying.
Okay.
Carmen?
As a patron, I didn't know much about the ALA before, and I've researched a lot because of this issue before us. Before I researched them, my impression was that this is a organization that promotes best library practices, and that's their job. And in my understanding as a trustee, which I've now been for a year up in Kalispell, one of the best practices is to look at circulation data, look at what gets checked out from a public library in your particular town, wherever you are, in your community, and then to purchase books based on the demand. So the practice of sending out book lists and telling your followers or your email list or whatever people you have access to go check out books on a particular list totally distorts that one objective way for libraries to manage their collections. And to see that practice from the ALA itself looks to me like they have gone so far away from promoting healthy, good library practices. That is shocking to me. they're basically acting in a way that undermines best practices for public libraries. So having researched what they actually do, I can no longer believe that they promote best practices for libraries, which to me is what their job should be. So I've seen them gone completely off course, going activist and not really serving the library community anymore at all. So I'm in favor of us sending a really strong message and not contributing any more money to them and removing ourselves completely from that organization.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I just want to thank everybody who wrote letters, but I also want to point out that one of the librarians who did not agree with the ALA was afraid to give their name because of the personal attacks this person would be open to if they didn't follow what I would call the woke agenda being promoted by the ALA to our librarians. And I think that says a lot. I think that this they against us against them, that the ALA has made such an effort to promote. I think it has created an atmosphere where a lot of people feel afraid to address what they feel and what they believe and what they stand for. And I think we've all experienced that in our lives, but it's really sad when the association that's supposed to represent you doesn't leave room for any diverse opinions, even if your diverse opinion represents in Montana overwhelmingly what the majority of Montanans believe. And so that's a really sad work comment to me, that anybody has to work in an environment where they have to live in fear. And I think a lot of the librarians I've talked to feel that they cannot speak out in the present environment. The other thing that really struck me, along with what Carmen was saying, when I read through all the AL materials, they do training, but their training is very, very one-sided. They are not trying to train people to do their job better of reaching their communities and finding out what their communities needs, how they can help their communities, how they can help their families in their communities and the children who use the books. Their workshops were aimed at how to advocate politically for what we want, how to advocate for our philosophy, how to get the books we want into the library. And they even stated as young as preschool children. And so I think that's a really sad commentary on a group that should be providing training across the board. It's a very dangerous group, I think, because they do not represent in Montana. I can't speak for other states. I'm sure there are states out there that are absolutely thrilled with the one-sided opinion and direction the ALA is going. But in Montana, this is not acceptable. And I just am very grateful that we're having this chance.
All right, we've had our discussion and we've had our public comment. Seeing no hands raised, we will now vote on the motion, which is we immediately withdraw from the ALA and discontinue any further payments except for existing contracts to it or its subsidiaries. The body of the letter to the ALA is as follows. Dear Executive Board and officers, the purpose of this letter is to announce the MSL immediate separation from the ALA. Our oath of office and resulting duty to the Constitution forbids association with an organization led by a Marxist. Sincerely, MSL Commission. All those in favor say aye.
Madam Chair, can we have a roll call?
Yes. We'll begin with Tom.
Aye.
Elsie.
I didn't hear Elsie's. Did she say one?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Elsie.
Carmen.
Aye.
Tammy.
Aye.
Robin.
Aye.
Brian.
Nay.
And I am going to abstain. Is that everybody?
Yes.
The motion passes. Is there any other business or announcements?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we had discussed at our last meeting that we would be able to get as a board or as a commission, the copies of the legal opinions that were given to us for our decision-making. And so I just want to make sure that I didn't get all the addresses and materials for a while because my email with the state was not correct. But I want to make sure, Jenny, have we received the legal opinion that the library cannot stop children from reading anything they want, regardless how young they are? We were told that was the law, but Tom and I had asked for that legal opinion. Have we received that?
I need to go back and check, Tammy. I thought that came to you last fall.
That's what I was thinking, and I went back to my fall records and I could not find it. If that is my fault, I apologize. But could you give us, the commission, another copy of that? That was what we based our e-communication policy on, that we could not have any say in what children read in libraries, was a legal opinion that said we're not allowed to. And I just would like to see that legal opinion.
Certainly.
Any further business? Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for attending and your comments.